I don't see a problem with.
Just literally put the hand up and say I'm a woman.
But it's not an easy thing to do, to go out into
Actually,
the world.
it's incredibly
very
easy.
easy.
There's a Republic up at one end who were a massive crowd, far bigger than any of the monarchists. I mean, the streets are pretty much empty.
I don't believe in wrecking ordinary people's lives as they're going to work, as they're going to hospital, as they, on some cases, going to funerals. In other words, do you want to...
What does that mean? What is too much?
In other words, I think with every campaign, bringing people with you is really important. The very last thing on earth that will stop me eating steak is people like you with your pasty faces running into our restaurants telling us to stop eating, and you had 6 inches extra and massive hands, right? Obviously can help them, and huge feet, I think, as well.
Ever feel like you can't say what you really think? Like the world's gone mad and you're the only sane one left? Well, you're not alone. Piers Morgan's been feeling it too, and he's not staying quiet. Let's make a deal. If you smiled, learned something, or had an aha moment, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Don't leave me hanging. Did you hit it? Cool, thanks. Now, let's dive back in. In this video, we're gonna show you how Piers took on the woke mob and came out swinging. From losing his job to landing his own show, it's a wild ride you won't want to miss. Ready to see what happens when someone fights back against cancel culture? Remember when you could say what you thought without fear? Those days are gone. Now we're living in a world where everyone's walking on eggshells, afraid to speak their minds. It's called woke culture, and it's spreading faster than a viral TikTok dance. Schools, workplaces, social media, nowhere's safe from the thought police. Kids are getting in trouble for innocent jokes. Employees are scared to speak up in meetings, and don't even think about posting your real opinions online unless you want the internet mob coming for you. Take what happened to that professor at Portland State University. He quit his job because he couldn't take it anymore, said the students were just parroting ideas instead of actually thinking for themselves. And why? Because they're terrified of saying the wrong thing and getting canceled. It's not just schools either. Workplaces are turning into silent zones. People are so scared of offending someone or losing their job that they're keeping their mouths shut. And let's be real, that's no way to live. You shouldn't have to second guess every word that comes out of your mouth. But here's the kicker. What happens when we can't speak freely? When we're all too scared to say what we really think? We end up with a bunch of yes men nodding along to whatever the loudest voices are saying.
If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I on International Women's Day say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
There's a Republic up at one end who were a massive crowd, far bigger than any of the monarchists. I mean, the streets are pretty much empty.
Very easy.
You might think it's easy to say, but to decide to do that, to say
What
this
does
is
doing
who
it involve?
The very last thing on earth that will stop me eating steak is people like you with your pasty faces running into our restaurants telling us to stop eating.
Real debate? Forget about it. Different opinions? Not welcome here. This culture of silence is killing open debate. How are we supposed to solve problems if we can't even talk about them? How are we supposed to understand each other if we're too scared to have real conversations? But just when it seemed like the silence was going to swallow us all, one man decided he'd had enough of staying quiet. He wasn't about to let the woke brigade tell him what he could and couldn't say. Who am I talking about? Well, you might love him, you might hate him, but there's no denying that Piers Morgan isn't afraid to speak his mind. Everyone's got an opinion on Piers Morgan, but here's a question for you. What happens when a guy known for running his mouth suddenly gets silenced? Does he shut up and go away?
In other words, do you want to...
What does that mean? What is too much?
In other words, I think with every campaign, bringing people with you is really important, which I don't think you can muck around with original biology, but those who actually go through surgical procedure over a number of years, I've got great respect for that.
I don't see a problem with.
Just literally put the hand up and say I'm a woman.
But it's not an easy thing to do, to go out into
Actually,
the
it's
world.
incredibly easy.
Very easy.
I believe in peaceful protest.
So do you want to talk about the peaceful protest today?
I believe
then?
in
Do you wanna
peaceful
talk about it?
protest. Do behave like a complete foul-mouthed idiot. You don't do yourself any favours. Why do you think coming on a show like this and just repeatedly using the F word?
Not Piers. His response to getting canceled might surprise you, and it's got big implications for all of us. Love him or hate him, Piers Morgan's made a career out of saying what he thinks. He's like that guy at the pub who never knows when to stop talking. But you know what? Sometimes that guy's got a point. Remember when Meghan Markle did that interview with Oprah? Piers wasn't buying it. He went on Good Morning Britain and said he didn't believe a word she said about feeling suicidal. People lost their minds. 58,000 viewers complained to Ofcom. That's like the entire population of a small town all getting mad at once.
LGBTQIA+++, and then we included men who dress up like women and mock women, like influencer Dylan Mulvaney.
So I simply ask you, why can't I?
I mean, this point kind of ridicules trans people to an extent.
Actually, I think
that's-
what
I
you
think
said
that's
ridicules
problematic.
trans people, like Michael Phelps, who literally could do this, and it's normally the same as your height or something, isn't it, the span? You'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like.
Most people would have apologized, kept their head down. Not Piers. He doubled down, said he had a right to his opinion. And you know what? He ended up leaving the show. Imagine that. In a country that's supposed to value free speech, a guy loses his job for saying what he thinks. But Piers didn't crawl into a hole and disappear. He came out swinging, started calling out this woke culture left and right. He's been saying stuff like real progress comes from debate, not censorship. And you gotta admit, he's got a point. How are we supposed to figure anything out if we can't even talk about it? Now, Piers is planning something big. He's got a new show in the works, and he's not pulling any punches. He says it's gonna celebrate the right of everyone to have an opinion. Sounds like he's on a mission to cancel culture. But can one loudmouth TV host really change the tide? Here's the thing, Piers isn't just fighting for his right to say whatever he wants. He's fighting for all of us, for our right to hear different ideas, even if we don't agree with them. He's saying, this is where woke culture is taking us, to utter insanity. And when you look around, it's hard to argue with that. But is Piers Morgan really the hero we need? Or is he just another rich guy who can't handle being told to shut up?
Very difficult journey they go on. I have zero respect for people who just wallop their hand up and go, suddenly, I'm a woman and I want all the rights that a woman has. I don't believe in wrecking ordinary people's lives as they're going to work, as they're going to hospital, as they, on some cases, going to funerals, right? The moment it looks like it's just over the top, like it's everywhere you go is pride, 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 pride. And he had 6 inches extra, massive hands, right? Obviously can help him, and huge feet, I think, as well.
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one we all need to think about. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Piers Morgan, it's about all of us. It's about what kind of world we want to live in. So here's the thing about free speech. It's not just about you running your mouth. It's about hearing stuff you might not agree with. And yeah, that can be uncomfortable, but that's how we grow, how we learn. When everyone's too scared to speak up, we all lose out. This whole mess with Piers Morgan, it's bigger than just one loudmouth TV guy. It's about all of us, about what kind of world we want to live in. Do we want a place where everyone's walking on eggshells, afraid to say what they think? Or do we want real debates, real conversations? Here's a wild stat for you. 64% of Americans think cancel culture is messing with free speech. That's a lot of people feeling like they can't speak their minds. So what are you gonna do about it? You don't have to agree with everything Piers says, but maybe it's time we all spoke up a bit more. Go to a town hall meeting, start a conversation, support organizations that fight for free speech. Because if we don't use our voices, we might lose them.